Alright, let's dive into this whole mixopathy debate, homeopathy versus allopathy, because it's a topic that's way more complex and fascinating than most people realize. Here's the thing, if you take a step back and think about it, this isn't just about two medical systems clashing, it's about philosophy, regulation, economics, and even politics. Personally, I think what makes this really interesting is how it reflects broader tensions in healthcare, traditional versus modern, alternative versus conventional. It's not just a medical debate, it's a cultural one. So, let's start with the basics. Homeopathy operates on the like cures like principle, using highly diluted substances to treat symptoms. Allopathy, or modern medicine, relies on evidence-based treatments, clinical research, and pharmacology. One thing that immediately stands out is how these systems are regulated. In India, for instance, the National Medical Commission, NMC, oversees allopathy, while the National Commission for Homeopathy, NCH, handles homeopathy. But here's where it gets messy. In 2014, Maharashtra allowed homeopaths to prescribe allopathic medicines. Why? Because, at the time, there was a shortage of MBBS doctors in rural areas. This raises a deeper question: if homeopaths can step in, does that solve the problem, or does it blur the lines between these systems too much? From my perspective, this move was more about addressing a practical issue than reconciling the philosophies of these systems. Homeopaths argue they can provide primary care, especially in underserved areas, but allopaths fear this could lead to misdiagnosis or inappropriate treatment. What many people don't realize is that this isn't just about medicine, it's about infrastructure. Many rural hospitals lack even basic facilities, so even if MBBS doctors were available, they might not have the tools to practice effectively. This isn't just a Maharashtra issue, it's a global problem of healthcare accessibility. Now, let's talk about the Indian Medical Association, IMA, and their stance. They are fiercely opposed to mixopathy, claiming it's illegal and unsafe. But here's where it gets intriguing: many allopathic doctors already prescribe Ayurvedic or homeopathic medicines. Why? Because patients demand it. In my opinion, this highlights a bigger trend: the rise of integrative medicine, where patients want the best of both worlds. But the IMA sees this as a threat to their monopoly. What this really suggests is that the debate isn't just about patient safety, it's about professional turf and economic interests. A detail I find fascinating is the role of politics in all this. About 80% of homeopathy colleges in India are owned by politicians. Think about that for a second. These are the same people who decide healthcare policies. Personally, I think this is a massive conflict of interest. Will these politicians send their own families to these colleges? Probably not. But it's about economics. These colleges are profitable, and allowing homeopaths to prescribe allopathic medicines could expand their market even further. This brings us to the international reputation of Indian medicine. India is positioning itself as a hub for medical tourism, and homeopathy is a big part of that. But if homeopaths start practicing allopathy without proper training, it could damage that reputation. In my opinion, this is where regulation needs to step in. Instead of banning mixopathy outright, why not create a clear framework? For example, homeopaths could undergo additional training in allopathic pharmacology. This way, they could provide primary care in rural areas without overstepping their expertise. Finally, let's address the evidence-based argument. Critics often dismiss homeopathy as unscientific, but that's an oversimplification. The Central Council of Homeopathy has been around since 1973, and the AYUSH ministry promotes alternative medicines. What many people don't realize is that homeopathy does have its own body of research, though it's not as extensive as allopathies. If you take a step back and think about it, the real issue isn't whether homeopathy works, it's whether practitioners are qualified to prescribe allopathic medicines. So, here's my closing thought: this debate isn't just about homeopathy versus allopathy. It's about how we define healthcare, who gets to provide it, and how we balance tradition with innovation. Personally, I think the solution lies in collaboration, not competition. What do you think? Is mixopathy a dangerous blurring of lines, or a practical solution to a real problem? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear your perspective.